Nehemiah chapter 8 verse 10 says that the joy of the Lord is our strength. Now, why doesn't it say that the happiness of the Lord is our strength? Because you see, happiness is based on what is happening right now. Okay? So happiness comes and goes with everything that happens in our life. In fact, every person you encounter in your life has the ability to either bring happiness into your life or to take it away. You say, oh no, I don't let anyone take my happiness from me. Think about it. You get a ticket for parking in the wrong place, your happiness sort of goes down a bit, right? You get a raise at your job, your happiness goes up a bit. You have to be sequestered in your home because of some virus that's come into our country and invaded us, and now because of the worries, because of the virus, now you can't go anywhere. Your happiness is not quite what it was, right? So you see, if you draw your strength from happiness, that means that it comes and goes like this. It doesn't remain constant. The happiness comes and goes, and so does your strength if you're drawing your strength from happiness. But if you draw your strength from joy, remember this: joy is determined not by what is happening right now, like happiness is. Joy comes from knowing where I'm going, where I'm headed, my destination. So whether things are happening the way I want them to at the moment or not, I can still draw strength from the joy of knowing where I'm headed. And as long as my destination doesn't change, my joy is constant. Let me close with this story. Many years ago, when circuses were not in arenas and auditoriums, but they were still in the big tents, okay, the big top. There was a circus that had set up in this particular town, and the people came, filled all the seats around inside the big top, and they had watched different performers, the trapeze, all the different things, and now they'd come to the part that so many people look forward to, and that was the big tigers and lions. The big dangerous beasts that were controlled by the animal trainer who knew how to control them. But back in those days, they didn't have the kind of safety laws that we have today, where they had to be behind bars, behind cages, so that they couldn't attack anyone in the other. No, back then it was like, here's the wild lion, the wild tiger, and 20 feet away, here's a mother holding her daughter, her little girl, just 20 feet away. It's unbelievable how it was back in those days. Back then they just didn't have the safety laws that we have today. But anyway, what was happening was that this man had all of the lions and tigers on those pedestals that they would sit them on. He had them all seated on their pedestals all the way around the big ring and in the middle ring of the circus tent. And suddenly they lost electricity, and all the lights went out in the tent. Now, back then, they didn't have those emergency lights like we have in buildings today that are battery powered, and they'll come on and they'll keep everything lit well enough you can see where you're going to. No, they didn't have any of that in those days. When they lost electricity, they lost electricity. Nothing. So, everyone could just hear the animal trainer say, "No one make any sudden movements. Everyone please remain in your seats. Do not make any sudden movements. Just stay exactly where you are." They would hear the whip crack in the air. And he would say it again. They could hear him walking around in that big circle of the center ring of the tent where all of these cats were. And he said, no one make any sudden movements. Everyone stay exactly where you are. He didn't have a microphone. He was just saying it at a normal speaking volume, and everyone was silent. They could hear him. They were so stunned. They were listening to hear what he had to say. Everyone remain silent. Everyone remain still. No one move. Make no sudden movements. Again and again he said that, until finally, it seemed like forever, but finally the lights came back on. And all of the lions and tigers were still seated where they had been when the lights had gone off. And so he had them to open the cages, and he directed all of these big lions and tigers back into their cages. The next day, the press came out to have a press conference with this animal trainer. They all wanted to ask him the same question. What was going through your mind? What were you thinking when the lights went out? What was it like for you? Because you were right in the middle of all of them. What was it like for you? He said, see, I knew something that probably most of the people in that tent did not know. And that is that these tigers have what is called night vision. That means that they can see as clearly in the dark as they can in the light. So the bottom line was, even though we couldn't see them, they could see us perfectly. Just like the lights were on. And he said, I knew that if anyone made any sudden movements, it was going to be over. Those tigers were going to pounce on them. It was going to be pandemonium and ultimately death. So he said, I had to keep telling the people, stay where you are, make no sudden movements, stay where you are, do not make any sudden movements. And then I would crack the whip in the air, just crack it in the air to keep them knowing that I was still in charge. He said, because you see, I knew that the tigers could see me, and for all the tigers knew, they probably thought I could see them too. They didn't know that I didn't have night vision. So as long as I kept acting the same way around the ring like they had seen me in all of our shows every night at the circus, as long as I kept acting the same way, they thought that I could see them just as well as they could see me. So that's why none of them moved. He said, I figured that if I would keep acting in the dark like I do in the light, that when the lights come back on, I'll be safe. The key is to keep doing in the dark what you do in the light, so that when the lights come back on, you'll be okay. And I'm saying to you, for many of us, it feels like the lights have gone out. It feels as if it's darkness all around us right now. We feel like we can't see our way. We can't see our way to tomorrow, to the next day. But I'm saying to you, keep doing in the dark what you did in the light. And when the lights come back on, you'll be okay. You see, you need to finish with joy. Draw your strength from joy. Draw your strength from happiness. It'll do like this constantly, up and down, up and down, up and down. Strong today, weak tomorrow. Strong the next day, weak the next day. No, draw your strength from joy, because as long as your destination is the same, your joy will be the same, and you'll have the same strength. My favorite verse in the Bible says, in Jeremiah 29:11. For I already know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. They are plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. God said that before you and I were ever born, knowing everything that would ever happen to us, knowing about this virus and everything else. God said that his plans for us are to prosper us and not to harm us, to give us hope and a future. Cling to that promise. Hold on to that promise from God. And keep doing in the dark what you did in the light. And when the lights come back on, you'll be fine. God bless you.
I want to give you a message that I preached based on the life of the youngest king that Israel ever had, Josiah, who became king at age 8. When he was 18 years old, he turned an entire nation to God. In fact, after his death, God said that no king before or after him had ever sought after God like he did. What caused this young man to be transformed into such a mighty man of God? He learned his destiny. I want you to have this message so you will be inspired to find God's destiny for your life. If you'd like to get this free audio CD or download it now as an MP3 file, just visit our website, markgorman.com. And on the home page, click the link for the free audio.